The End Dragon battle is the climax of every world, but at the same time, it is also ruining them. This is obviously a complex issue, but an important one nonetheless, as I believe it could and has ruined the survival experience for many. And even though this iconic battle has been a staple of Minecraft culture for over a decade now, it has to change. To find out how the End Dragon is negatively affecting Minecraft, we first have to reason what the point of survival mode even is in the first place. Now this section is a little more opinionated, so we can definitely have a conversation about this in the comments section below, but I think in general, survival mode is supposed to be a way for us to create art and portray our personality, while also being a challenge and forcing us to think about how we'll overcome certain obstacles. You see how the End Dragon battle is almost a complete opposite to this structure, because while yes, it is an obstacle to overcome, it acts as the last obstacle though, and turns survival mode into just a way to express yourself through art and personality. And I'm certainly not saying anything's wrong with that, but there's already a similar game mode to that in Minecraft, and that's called creative mode. So now that we've seen the negative effects of the End Dragon battle, it's time to look how survival mode would be if it wasn't the unofficial end of the game. For this scenario, we have to imagine at least 10 more boss fights equally or more difficult than the End Dragon battle itself. In this version of the game, after beating the End Dragon, you don't lose any sense of motivation in your world, as you know you have at least 10 more boss fights to go and a lot of preparing to do, so you even have a chance against them. You keep building up your world as defeating all bosses will take a long time, and by the time you defeat all of them, you will already have a world filled with builds, monuments, and just art in general. So even if you do decide to quit your world, it will be littered with memories at the very least. You see how much better this system is? Instead of only having a starter base and maybe a farm or two, you will have created something far better. And honestly, you will probably be a lot less inclined to stop playing after all the boss fights, as since there's already so much infrastructure built up, it will make it a lot easier for you to add onto it rather than if you just had a small settlement to build up. So what are you waiting for? Let's already implement this into the game, right? Well, let's look at some potential cons and my final thoughts on the matter. Well, I think more boss fights would be a good addition to the game. It's not very practical, and I believe it would slowly have to be introduced, as even if these bosses were more like the Wither and didn't require a whole separate dimension to fight them in, 10 whole new bosses would really throw off the flow of the game, and it would feel very un-Minecraft-like in my opinion. And not to mention the hassle of adding in a new endgame item for every boss would be tedious as well. But even with these observations, I believe if Minecraft slowly starts adding in the new bosses, with every new update, it would restore a sense of purpose and adventure in survival mode without coming across as un-Minecraft-like. And yes, this whole thing might be a huge disaster, but at least in my opinion, the risk is worth taking.